Good morning, and welcome to the intersection this week after Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has gotten over the food coma, and at least I have. And mine was lovely, and to be with some new family and some dear family. So hope yours was good as well. I'm wondering if we have some announcements out there. Take just a couple minutes so a few more people can enter in and hear this amazing presentation. Alice, did you want to say something about January 15th?
No, the what you said, what date it is and what time to be there at Region 20 is pretty much what I got right now. But
Great.
we're
So mark
getting more
your
info.
calendars. Yeah,
What?
mark your
Yeah,
calendars.
mark your calendars exactly,
It's,
because
oh,
it'll continue this conversations that we're having at the intersection is gonna all come together at the symposium, and then it'll follow up with roundtables for action steps. So just that.
I
so
want I want to announce our Women Connecting Globally Young Women's Leadership Program one Saturday morning a month. For example, this coming Saturday, 9 to 10:30, we meet online. We've got some young people in Kenya, in Guatemala, in Palestine, in Mexico. And then we are going to present at the Commission on the Status of Women in March, the United Nations, the parallel gathering with women all over the world. So it's one of the most exciting things for 14 to 24-year olds. And I'm going to put a little info about registering for it in the chat. Thanks.
thank you. And such a good example, too, of what we're talking about in our current thread.
Yes.
Yeah, so good. Anyone else have announcements? Because we do have some great information today that I want us to delve into, but I want to give as many people time to get here. So we kind of are in that strange time of year, right? When, in one sense, everything seems to be getting busier, that after Thanksgiving to January 1 kind of moment. But what it tends to do as well is it tends to slow other things down that we're normally involved in kind of day to day, right? So gatherings of, just this kind of thing that we're doing this morning. Now we're going to keep doing our Thursday mornings. We might not meet on December 25th. It's a Thursday this year. And so is January 1st. Although I do remember in all the years past, we have met um, around whatever the date was around January 1st. So we began the year this way. We figured most of the celebrating was the night before. The tough part was waking up and being a part of this. But we've had some amazing beginning of the year conversations at the intersection just because of what the day was. It was the beginning of the year and some really deep and beautiful conversations. I want to remind everybody that all of these intersections have been brought to us and empowered by sacred.org, and that all of them are recorded, and that all of them are posted online. And we'll go ahead and put that into the chat again. We actually have larger viewership from the recordings because people take these recordings, like this morning's, and then they show them to teams they work with, or an adult forum at a congregation, or even like in a neighborhood association, or to friends, family, a colleague. I also send them to elected officials and things like that when there's something I think they particularly need to hear. It's so much better to hear it from the voice who presented it. I might, when I send it, give them the minute, so if you watch nothing but minute 12 through 14, you know, and it works. And I think it helps. I know it does. It helps to not only nurture community, but it also is a form of education, networking, strengthening, efficiency, effectiveness. It's just a great practice in terms of community organizing and building up a strong community. So don't forget that. And even I will send it like to my networks afterwards, that I knew were in this meeting, right? That maybe missed or need to hear a particular portion. So I think about that every time we leave, like who needs to have this recording? And I pin that. And usually the recording is up by the following Monday. Sometimes it's in 24 hours. So I make a note, and then the beginning of the following week, I start sending it out into particular spaces and people. So I've got 8:06, and we're going to go ahead and begin. I know others, we've already had another person join since I said that. So feel free to put questions into chat, and I'll be following those as well. I want to welcome Greg and Cora from Springfield, Missouri, and the Ozarks. It's kind of my old stomping ground, but welcome them into San Antonio. Greg was here 2 weeks ago when we started this series where we're really looking at our younger leadership and younger people in our world and innovations in terms of engagement and nurturing that community growth. But excuse me, but we also learned 2 weeks ago from Mig. I don't have the full phrase, but it comes from the Native American community about when we gather to always keep in mind the 200-year span, the youngest person in the room, as well as our elders in the room. And then that brings us full circle. This morning's innovation from Springfield is like a perfect example. And I'm not going to say much, but the whole brain idea started with retirees and volunteers, and then went into some innovation with young people in high school through school districts. I'm not going to tell the whole story. That's why Greg and Cora are here. It's all yours.
Thank you, Ann. Can you see the screen, first of all?
Yes, we can.
Very good. Thank you, Ann, for inviting us. I guess, first of all, Cora and I want to congratulate all of you for doing this on a regular basis. We think the intersection is great, and we have something similar in Springfield where our faith leaders come together on a regular basis, started during the pandemic and has continued. And so bravo to you for doing this. And I guess a special shout out to Jane Paccione at the San Antonio Area Community Foundation. We've been working with her on trying to bring Give 5 to the San Antonio area. So I'm going to go through these slides pretty quickly. I'm going to try and cover it well. We're going to see if there we go. We're going to skip introductions. Cora, I'll introduce Cora because I was on the call last week. She's the Director of Public Information and Civic Engagement for the City of Springfield and also the co-creator of the Give 5 program. So she's my partner in crime. We'll do a quick review of the Give 5 program, and then we'll get into the youth portion that Ann was talking about. We think of the Give 5 program is a win-win-win-win. It's great for addressing social isolation, even though the participants are not all lonely and isolating. Some of them are the busiest people we've ever met, and some haven't left their house in 2 years, and everything in between. It's great for nonprofits. It's kind of like rocket fuel for the nonprofits in the community. It's great for employers because it helps them as people are retiring, helps reintroduce purpose and meaning into their lives, and it's great for the overall community's economy and quality of life. And I think you'll see that as we get through this. We think of the program as romance. And the reason we think of it as romance, we call it a civic matchmaking program. So it's kind of think ecivichaharmony.com. We haven't been sued by eHarmony yet, but we probably will be at some point. So on this romance, on one side of the romance, you've got these nonprofits, and I suspect your nonprofits are no different than our nonprofits. I used to run a nonprofit. I was the president and CEO of United Way of the Ozarks for 6 years. And all of our nonprofits need talent. They are really struggling for talent, and a large part of that has to do with the labor market and the fact that the labor curve inverted in 2018. There's more jobs than people to fill them. On the other side of the romance, you've got the people in your community. This wave of retirees, loaded with skills, talents, and maybe for the first time in their life, they have some time available. But the idea here is everyone needs to feel needed. And when you retire, and many of you may not have retired yet. It's a weird feeling when you retire and they take away your key or your name badge and they tell you they're going to invite you back for Thanksgiving dinner and they don't. But it's just a different type of feeling. So we created this program to try and address 5 macro trends at the same time. I'm not going to go into the details of them. Here they are, just at a high level. The wave of talent on the move is the 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day for 19 years. That's 70 million of us. I am one. Our entire wave of talent is going to be available to plug into something. Why not plug that talent and those skills into the community to address the things that you want to address and move the needle on? The largest baby boomer health risk, it's not cancer and it's not heart disease, according to the U.S. Surgeon General. It's isolation and loneliness. And that we could do a whole presentation on isolation and loneliness. We won't. Strengthening our community fabric. We're all seeing a drop in levels of empathy and in levels of bridging social capital. So how do we break people's bubbles, introduce them to people outside of their bubble that maybe have a different life experience, and this becomes this rich bridge and interchange between people in the community. The increased importance of volunteerism is the 4th trend. All of our nonprofits are saying the same thing, which is volunteerism is not back to even pre-pandemic levels. And even pre-pandemic, we had a shortage of volunteers. So all nonprofits are probably going to rely more on 2 things going forward, which is skilled volunteerism, as they have trouble competing for talent in the open market, and then also philanthropy, which kind of leads to the 5th trend, which is the largest transfer of wealth and knowledge in the history of the world has already begun. What would happen if a slice of that wealth went back into the San Antonio community? And even if 5% of that went back in, trust me, that is a game changer for your community. If you ignore all this and just sort of say, well, I don't, we're not really gonna pay attention to these things that are going on in our community, it's kind of like saying there's a hole in your end of the boat. And if we allow part of our community to sink, it's going to drag down the entire community. So part of what we do is help teach the participants about the interconnectedness of all the different things going on in their community, because it doesn't become our problem until we see the facts and we see that interconnectedness. So that's one of the things that the Give 5 program does. We were not designed to take a 40-year vacation. And if I showed you the U.S. Census Bureau statistics, that's kind of what we're lining up for. So our longevity is increasing and we're setting ourselves up for a 40-year vacation, but we need that meaning and purpose in our lives. We call the program Couch Repellent. It really does effectively do that. It gets people up off the couch. It doesn't mean they're going to do 40 hours of volunteerism a week. It means they're going to have meaning and purpose and they're going to have reasons to get up off the couch. Cora and I created the program based on the central assumption that people are good. They're just waiting to be asked. And once people see the need in the community, they naturally want to help. And again, they're just waiting to be asked. They don't know how to take the first step. And we see it all the time where people say, I've got a good heart, I want to connect. There are 3,000 nonprofits in our community. How do you pick? So Give 5 does a couple of things. It lets them see behind the curtain. We physically go visit 23 nonprofits over 5 program days. They get a chance to sort of see behind the curtain and learn about their community. The other thing they get a chance to do is a little bit of a taste testing. What would it be like to volunteer here? What are the volunteer opportunities in their own backyard? People retire, they don't have any idea what really is waiting for them or how they could plug in and be useful. We customize the program to each host community. We start by asking the first question, which is, what is the big challenge that you want to tackle? For example, in our community, it's poverty. Everything we do in the Give 5 program, all the curriculum, all the nonprofits that we visit are working on poverty. And those nonprofits are either working upstream or downstream toward the causes or the symptoms of poverty. And so Give 5 is sort of the ultimate upstream program. So if you're thinking about upstream, how do you arm your nonprofits who are on the front line, maybe working on downstream, maybe they're upstream, trying to prevent people from being in poverty? This is sort of the jet fuel for the nonprofits. And once you increase their capacity, it's a game changer. It changes everything else. Just quickly, the logistics. So we do a class size of about 20 to 22, no cost to participants. It's free to them. 5 program days, one a week for 5 weeks. They physically visit 23 nonprofits and they get a chance to see and experience these nonprofits. Here's quickly to wrap up the impact on the community. We work with researchers at Penn State and Stanford, and they've helped to measure the impact. The state of Missouri is the first state to officially adopt the Give 5 program. So out of 9 hosts, they asked us, the state did, to measure the impact. And those 9 hosts, their graduates, last year, over the last 12 months, gave $6.7 million worth of volunteerism to the state. State invested $1 million in the program, so it's a 670% return on investment. And I mentioned, they're not looking for a 40-hour-a-week job, but the graduates who responded averaged a little over 20 hours of volunteerism per month, and that is very impactful in a community. It's the graduates volunteered more than twice as many hours as the quote average older adult in our state. Give you an example, the class we just graduated, class 29, had 20 graduates. They committed to 75 volunteer opportunities in our community at 18 different nonprofits. So that's how it works. As Cora can tell you, we've had a lot of local and national media attention. We were in PBS's Next Avenue. They featured us, and Forbes.com featured us, and that's how Penn State actually notified us. So we're in a variety of communities around the country. I won't go into that. Dr. Robert Putnam, this is our claim to fame, the father of social capital, and he gave us this quote, which kind of made our year. I won't read it to you. If you want more information, and I put this website in the chat as well, there's a lot more information at give5program.com. So here's our latest adventure, and this is what Ann asked us to get into, which is we got approached about from a group that coordinates 110 school districts in Missouri, and they said, "Hey, we see what you do with older adults. We want to drop the Give 5 program into the high school curriculum." And we thought, okay, well that sort of makes sense. What we didn't realize is what they really want to get to is middle school students. So even though what I'm getting ready to tell you is a pilot program this year for high school students, please understand what they want to do is not only do this in high school students, but maybe even younger, maybe even into middle school students. There's 5 elements to this pilot project, and we're right in the middle of it right now. The first was a pre-programmed student survey. So again, we worked with our researchers at Penn State and Stanford. They helped us come up with a student survey that was administered before they did the nonprofit tours that I'm getting ready to talk about. So this is an official Stanford research project, Stanford IRB approved. And so we've got the before data. Then we provided curriculum for teachers. And Cora and I have never written curriculum for high school, so this was brand new for us. But when we talked with the teachers, they said there are certain things that the students don't know. For example, the students don't really know what nonprofits are or how they operate. So we wrote a curriculum module on an introduction to nonprofits and asked that they cover that with the students before the nonprofit tour. We gave them information about their own community. You know, a fish is the last to realize it's in water. And so if you're living in a community, you don't really know how your community compares to maybe statewide averages or national averages. So we gave them a curriculum module that compares all the census data of their own community to the state and to national averages. One of the things that we felt really strongly about, and we asked the teachers about, was social media algorithms. How does social media work? How does your digital footprint impact what gets pushed to you in your feed? And we thought maybe students already understand that. All 5 teachers from all 5 districts said no, they need to know this. So we wrote 2 curriculum modules explaining how social media algorithms work. We also wrote modules on the health benefits of serving others, not just volunteering, but caregiving, philanthropy, all these other things. And then also how to protect themselves from online scams and frauds. The generation that is scammed more than any others is not older adults. Older adults lose more information from more dollars from scams because they have more dollars to lose, but it's actually the young generation. It's Gen Z and earlier that actually get scammed more often, and it makes sense. They're online more often. The third part of this is the tours, and this is kind of where the magic starts to happen. Instead of visiting 23 nonprofits like the older adults do, this is a one-day tour where they go visit 4 local nonprofits. Again, they get a chance to see behind the scenes, how does this work? And each nonprofit is required to present to the students a real-world need. They can't make up a problem. They have to take a real-world situation that they're wrestling with, a challenge they haven't been able to solve, and actually package that up as a project for the students because the students are going to serve as consultants. So here's an example of the various classes out at various nonprofits learning about what's going on at those particular nonprofits. I've got 160 of these photos. I'm not going to show them to you, but it was very inspiring to watch the high school students have their eyes open and see what's going on and see the inspiring work that these nonprofits are doing. The fourth step is the students serving as consultants. And so the teacher breaks the students up into groups and teams based on the student's area of interest. Maybe their heart was drawn to a particular nonprofit or a particular need in the community. They try and get them on that team. They then put together the teams, and the teams start working directly with the nonprofits. This was very important. They want the students to interact directly with the nonprofits, not through the teacher. So they're going to serve, it's a real world learning opportunity. So they're going to serve as consultants directly with the nonprofits. And then the final thing is they're going to present their solutions. So at the end of April, as we kind of wrap up the academic year, the students are going to present their recommended solutions to the nonprofit's executive team and the board of directors. They're going to invite area legislators to be a part of this because this is a pilot project. They don't really know how this is going to go. And at the very end, we will also do another survey of the students. We will survey the teachers and we will survey the nonprofits. We're very data oriented, and so we collect this data. The researchers at Stanford and Penn State will take that before data and after data with the students and compare it and see whether we've moved the needle on the actual students' perceptions. Do they feel more empathy? Do they feel more community ownership? We're all about community ownership because we feel like going through these experiences, you come out of it. We want you to feel like you own your community because when you own your community, you treat it differently, you talk about it differently. This is what we're trying to achieve. We want their sense of belonging. We're going to measure their level of loneliness and isolation. And since you are focused on young people, I will tell you, I just finished a first analysis of their pre-program survey. There is a lot of isolation and loneliness. There's a lot of these young people who feel left out. They're feeling lonely. And I couldn't tell because I went with every group of students when they went on their nonprofit tour. I would not have said that they were feeling lonely or feeling high levels of anxiety, but about 4 in 10 are. And it was kind of staggering to me. So bravo to you all for taking this on and recognizing that this is a real need. So that's kind of all of this stuff in a nutshell. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
And you did it on time. Bravo.
Oh my gosh, that never happens.
I'm wondering too, Cora, is there something that you want to say to enhance what Greg has said, or maybe something he missed that you
She can
think is
counter.
right? She
Yeah,
can add
no, I think he did a fantastic job. It's a model that works on multiple levels, and we're excited that we're working with a secondary audience now with the young people. It's one of those programs that sound very simple on the surface, but it's been really meaningful to be a part of it in all these different communities and these different age groups.
I'm curious because you mentioned that the school districts were most interested in going into middle schools, right? So what are your initial thoughts, at least, of taking what you're doing with high schools and moving that into middle schools? Do you have something that's a different tweak to it, or what are you thinking?
I think some of the curriculum modules will have to be adjusted a little bit, maybe for that younger audience. When we developed the module for how social media algorithms work, we'll probably make some assumptions that they know certain things. We may have to go back and sort of includes some more, I hate to use the word remedial, but some more foundational information in those modules. We can't assume that every middle school student understands what every high school student understands.
We did sort of a pilot of that. We had 80 middle school students come to the city offices and visited police, fire, public works, a variety of different, just to learn about local government. And it just so happens that I have a Give 5 graduate who is a former middle school teacher on my staff here now, who helped me create a volunteer program for the city, who said, "This is my jam, Cora. I can write all this curriculum." And she knocked that out, and it was just a one day thing. I don't even think I've told you about that, Greg. Because one of our council members asked us to do this, and I said, 80 middle school kids, what can I do with them? And it turned out to be just an amazing experience. So I think it can work at that level.
The biggest thing too that I hear in all of this is how it opens up your mental geography, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what true innovation does. It like takes you out of what box you don't even know you're in. And then suddenly you're writing something for 80 middle schoolers that you probably, if you'd been asked before Give 5, you were like, I don't know.
Right.
I got nothing.
Right.
Yeah, we all live in bubbles.
Now the box is open, right? And it's hard to put to close the box. Thank goodness, right?
We all live in bubbles. And when you break that bubble,
right.
something special happens.
And just the exposure of getting, whether it be older adults or whether it be students, getting them to get to visit and go places in person to know people who are doing these types of work is huge. Because I think we, as a society, we've just become so isolated in what we do.
If I can give you a quick example, Ann, I see Jane's on the call. Shout out to Jane. She'll get this too. In our very first class, we had a gentleman who, during his self-introductions, introduced himself and then added on his own, he said, just so you know, I'm just to the right of Attila the Hun. And it's a non-political class. We don't ask for their political affiliation. He just volunteered that. On the third program day, we were at our domestic abuse shelter. The class was sitting around the conference table, had just heard from the CEO, and they were getting ready to stand up and go on a tour. And another gentleman in the class came over, and I'm like 3 feet from this conversation. And before the first guy could get up from the table, this other guy came over, leaned over the table and said, "Are you the guy, Don, who said you were just to the right of Attila the Hun?" And Don leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms and said, "Well, yes, I am." And Ira leaned in a little closer and said, "Well, I'm just to the left of Bernie." And I thought, we're going to have our first fist fight in a domestic abuse shelter, which is a really bad look. But instead, they did what you did. They laughed. They both laughed. They got up and walked on the tour together. On days 4 and 5, they had lunch together and they sat on the bus together. And after they graduated, they became Facebook friends and they volunteered together. Now, would that have happened if they had met on social media? No way. I mean, they'd still be firing flames back at each other. It's the power of this, what Cora calls the shared experience. And it's really powerful.
I still remember seeing them talking on Facebook after that. I just couldn't believe it. It was pretty neat.
It is right at half the hour. And thank you. You packed in all the information there before half past. And so if anyone needs to leave and get on with their day, feel free to do so. But I think that Cora and Greg are able to stay with us for another 15 to continue to have this conversation. So if you're having to leave, please come back next week. We're going to continue this series, especially on innovation and reaching out to young people and engagement in that direction. We have some very innovative things that are happening locally. So we're going to be hearing from some of those as well. And don't forget to mark your calendars for January 15th for our first ever. It's a continuation of the Sacred Symposiums, but we're changing the name. We're calling them Sacred Action Labs. So we hope to see you on January 15th. Do we have other questions for Greg and Cora to move this forward and where you might have gaps or thoughts?
I don't have a question. I guess it's more of a comment, but I love it for the junior high students because originally with your retirees, you said to have meaning and purpose. And I always say if I need to come back and am reincarnated, Okay, I'll do it. But can I skip junior high? That's my deal. I'll do whatever you need me to do, universe. But yeah, junior high, no, thank you. I think we all come out a little traumatized from junior high. I know I did. So that is just such a magnificent place to connect. And then the story you told about these two gentlemen that were polar opposites, isn't that what we're looking for right now? You can be my polar opposite, but can we have a conversation and respect? And learning that in junior high would just provide such great and beautiful power. Um, Using students as consultants, empowering them to speak up, to advocate for themselves. Wow. I don't think I learned how to do that until, yesterday. Um, and then
Well,
it just
yesterday was a big day.
it was a
Anybody?
big day. Yeah, so I
Stands up.
learned, which was great. Um, and then it just all equals compassion, which is, what sacred is about. And all that, yeah, just equaling compassion and being able to be compassionate without being embarrassed.
And
Be-
Allison, it's going to be really interesting to see what the post-program survey yields.
Yeah.
Have we moved the needle on compassion? Have we moved the needle on empathy?
Yeah.
My guess is we probably will. We just don't know by how much.
Don't know by how much.
I
And then
think you'll be
sacred
astounded. Yeah.
has a beautiful button that I always brag about, and it's up in community. It's called Places. And if you click on that button in your zip code, it shows you all the nonprofits in that zip code. And so for these kids to become familiar with their own backyard and
Hmm.
to go, well, here's some places, we're going to go visit these, but here's some that are in your own backyard that you
Oh,
can,
that would be a great thing to look at too on
yeah,
January 15th, how that works.
yeah.
See that Arthur has his hand up. Arthur, you have a
I have
question?
a question. I'm part of the Eco Collaborative here in San Antonio, and for several years we've had eco tours in our community. And just recently, a consultant on adult learning told me exactly what you were just saying. Keep them active. She said the more active physically are, the more we learn. And so my question is, do you include environmental programs as well?
We don't in our program in Springfield because we're focused on poverty. Now, we've had enough interest in environmental programs that we have considered doing like either a 1 or 2 day version of Give Five focused on different things. One of them is animal issues, another one is environmental issues. So it's possible that we could be doing a sort of a Give Five light program on environmental issues. We don't have probably 25 or 23 that we could visit, but we do have 10 that we could go visit. So we probably could do it as a 2 day program.
You know
Great.
what might also be interesting? So, two things I think of from research that I've heard this morning, whether we've talked about it or not. But the model that is really starting to organically develop through Give Five, the research there is, like the generation that's just above whatever generation that you're trying to work with have the most impact, right? So that whole idea of high school and then middle school, then that makes me, of course, think of college. And then it makes me think of young professionals. And then it makes, you know what I'm talking about?
Right,
So you've
absolutely.
got some work ahead. So that's one piece of research. But another piece of research are the whole social determinants. And I forgot the other one right now. I just went out of my head. But social determinants will do it. But even like in the field trip portion of Give Five, to think about perhaps the nonprofits that work across all the social determinants,
Yes.
so that the nonprofits that are being visited also represent all those different areas of what makes for a holistic life, but then a holistic community as well. So it would
Yeah.
include, of course, the environment, but to
When
think
we
even intentionally about the field trips, that they represent the whole.
When we start working with a new community, we ask the first question, which is, what do you want to impact? And we've had a number of communities that have said, we want to impact the social determinants of health.
Yes,
Tulsa is a perfect example.
they've
So
taken that approach.
Tulsa's curriculum is designed around the entire wellness wheel, the social determinants of health.
Right. But having those field trips, go there.
Yeah,
Because when
It's
you start
completely
looking at
different.
community, it's got to be all those things, right?
right,
Or we end up pocketing again, but
right. Visiting makes all the difference,
right,
Yes.
because you can
right.
look up these nonprofits online, and there's volunteer portals. It's just absolutely not the same as physically going to these spaces where people are doing the work and feeling if you connect. I had a friend of mine who went through one of the early Give Five programs in Springfield. We were riding the bus and he said, Cora, I cannot believe what program I'm most attracted to. And I said, okay, what is it? And he said, well, it's Catholic Charities and their disaster relief work. And I said, well, what's surprising you about that? He said, I'm not Catholic. And I said, well, you don't have to be Catholic to work there, but it's just an example of he would have never chosen that online or on an online directory. It just wouldn't have come into his psyche. And how great is that he's from a different faith background and he's volunteering with that organization now. It's really cool.
And just think the huge ripple effect, how all of this then impacts our worldview and perceptions. And not just our world, but how we meet Attila the Hun, and, it opens us up. And that's why, and I know Martha Ann would, amen to this, but that's why world travel, for example, and internships are so important
Yes.
during the college age or any age, going to meet other people in other places, which truly is a gift, but
And
it
that was
opens up. Yeah.
That was intentional on our part, to be honest, because Greg and I work together at the city. He is city manager and myself as the director of civic engagement. And so the thought of getting people to empathize and understand other points of view was something very much at the forefront of our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to your earlier point, Ann, one of the high school projects is to put together a high school leadership development program at a local university. So in Branson, the Branson High School students are putting together a Branson leadership program for other high school students. And who are they working with? College students. So they're working with the next generation up to develop this leadership program.
Yep. You don't have have to have the whole picture.
No.
You just start and you move in those directions, taking that kind of next faithful step, and it just starts to grow,
And we recently did our first intergenerational workshop where we had Give Five graduates, which are age 60 or better. We don't say 60 or older, we call it 60 or better. And young professionals in the community, had them work together to address recommendations for our community for increasing levels of misinformation and disinformation. So they took a highly sort of polarizing topic, something that's pretty deep. They heard from topic experts. It was essentially one afternoon plus a second workshop to wrap it up. But they worked really well together. And we broke them up into intergenerational work groups just to kind of watch and see how all that worked. And it worked. And we'll probably do it again for other topics. But it's just kind of amazing when you bring the generations together and say, okay, let's work on something that you all feel passionately about. And then sort of the generational differences kind of melt away.
I love that 60 or better. We're going to permanently borrow that if
That's
okay
fine.
with you.
Spread the word.
60 or better. Love that. Other thoughts or questions for Cora and Greg while we have them here?
Kendra has a hand up.
Oh, I missed that. Kendra.
So I came to my work in a really similar fashion. There is a AmeriCorps program called Public Allies that takes people from literally every type of background and every type of age, and puts them at local not-for-profits to do the work, whatever type of work that they're doing. I am a transplant from the farm in Iowa. I came here through a lot of loss and suffering. Absolutely no idea that the work that I do even existed. I navigated my way through systems here because I came here in a bad way. You'll have to apologize because I'm getting ready to go to work right now, because this did become my career. I've been there for 5 years. But if you would have said, hey, you who ran a dog kennel for 25 years and trained horses and milked cows in Iowa and came here and lived in a homeless shelter and didn't even have your associate's degree, um, and all these certifications in agriculture, do you think you would be working for some of the most powerful Black women in San Antonio and working for East Side causes for 5 years and make that your permanent career? I would have been like, what the heck are you talking about? But AmeriCorps Public Allies gave me that opportunity. West Care, Texas chose me. And I can't tell you how much your program is going to work. There's a time in post-World War II area where becoming a candy striper was something that all girls wanted to do, right? Where service was in our hearts. Now we're so driven by capitalism because people literally can't afford to eat or live. Like, we have to make money, right? We feel like we have to, and it's constantly pushed in these kids' faces that they need to buy things, but they don't feel the reward from just serving humankind, and it has to start young. So I can't tell you how much I believe in what you're doing and what a difference it's going to make all the way around. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kendra.
And thanks for what you do, Kendra.
That's what I was going to say. Us girls from the I-states, things happen. So
have a blessed day, y'all.
Thank you.
You too, Kendra. Other thoughts or comments? We have, I think, just a couple more minutes.
I would like just to say hi to both of you. And every time I hear this presentation, I get more like, oh my goodness, and more ideas about innovate. 24 hours makes a big difference on, how you think, okay, hold on, where could this be? How could we do this? So I'll be outreaching to you. Greg, I've got your phone number, so you can't get away from me. But I'm thinking I need 2 more presentations. I've got a select group.
We're here for you.
We're here
I
for
know.
you.
I really appreciate both of you so much
Thank
and
you.
the work you're doing. And I'm just a huge fan.
Thank
And
you,
Jane, now you'll have this recording as well.
Yes. You know
And
what?
you could-
Thank you, Anne. That's it. I don't even have to grab you to get over here. I can just go ahead and do that. So just know I am just one of your biggest fans here in San Antonio. And I'm really wanting to make sure this lands in the right space. So
Thank you, Jane. And you can use this recording, but Cora and I are willing to do anything you ask of us.
I know you guys are amazing. I just, makes me want to take a trip up towards you.
Please join us.
Cora can tell you about the birthplace of Route 66 Festival. We're going to be the national host.
We're the national host in April of the kickoff for Route 66 Centennial and America's 250th. So I was just on the phone yesterday. Thank you. With our friends in Amarillo. They're sending a large contingent here. So they're going to come celebrate with us. And we're just going to cross promote every community along the route and encourage people to get out and see the country. Another, initiative just to let's learn and let's get out and see this great country.
Can you send that information to me? I was born on Route 66.
Oh, really?
Lincoln, Illinois.
Lincoln, Illinois.
Yeah. A great place to visit. I'm going to plan that for April.
There you go.
So I think we're right at our time here, about 8:43. I want to thank you both for being with us this morning and taking the time. But more than that, for all that you've put into community and the ripple impact that this is having. We are making a difference. It's sometimes difficult to see. And that's why telling these stories and doing the work is so critically important now, more than ever. So thank you for your work. Jane, the beautiful thing, or everybody else, by using the video, the recording of this, then you can always invite Greg and Cora, but you can start the work in the next invitation when they show up. Like you already know, okay, this is what we want to do with this. How do we get going, Cora? can our mayor talk to your mayor, that kind of thing. And so let's do this, right? High five. So thank you all for being with us today. And we'll see you hopefully next Thursday at the intersection. Have great weekends.
Thank you.
Thank you.